Hello, my name is Russell Myers. Welcome to Issues Unite. All right, so the other day, Biden made the statement that Putin must go. Um, this is another push for regime change. You have to keep in mind that under Obama and Biden, we saw regime change happen. We saw Gaddafi assassinated, the attempt to overthrow Bashar al-Assad. The continuing wars in Afghanistan and in Iraq. Uh, you know, the sanctions and attempts to overthrow Maduro in Venezuela. So, you know, Biden himself has quite a history. He voted in favor of the invasion of Iraq. So, he played a part. He was all for overthrowing you know, Saddam Hussein, which, okay, even if you would disapprove of uh, you know, leader of a country, that doesn't mean you have the right to overthrow them. You have to keep in mind that yes, there were protests against the Ukrainian war in Russia, but even with that, polling showed that Putin had a 71% approval rating. Meanwhile, Biden's approval has sunk into the 30s, and he's barely over 1 year into office at this point. So, no, we're not going to see Putin leaving office anytime soon. That's just not going to happen. But what does happen, what does this do to Russia, Russian American relations, and so forth? We don't know yet. There's no way to know. Biden tried to walk this back, but I've already explained the history here, and he absolutely meant it. You can't walk back from that. Period. You cannot walk back from that. Um, the only Western media that has been coming out against this has been Fox News. So yeah, it's not like they're pro-Russian on Fox News because everything else on their channel is like pro-war. Anyway, what happens from here? And this is all just postulating, but Zelensky has to meet with Putin, but so that has a lot to do with what happens next. How is he going to behave at that meeting? We have no idea. Is he actually going to go with the peace proposal that was written by his own negotiators or not? We don't know. There's no way to tell. While these peace negotiations have been going on, he's been trying to get a no-fly zone and more weapons and attacking NATO and the United States, calling everyone weak and all this stuff. So at this point, Zelensky has not made friends in the international community. In addition, he outlawed 11 political parties in his own country. what you can count on happening is that Zelensky will not remain in office. When Ukrainian refugees and the members of parliament return to Ukraine, then at some point in the very near future, Zelensky is going to be removed from office because of his behavior during this. His actions could have prevented any of this from happening in the first place. So he's definitely going to be removed, and you won't hear of him again, period. I'm not saying that he'll disappear or anything. I'm just saying that once he's gone from office, you will never hear of him again. He was a non-entity in the first place. He was nothing but a comedic actor that somehow accumulated over $1 billion. I'll ask you to think about that again. How does a comedian accrue over $1 million? I mean, over $1 billion. Can you name any Western comedian that has ever accumulated that much money? And think about the size of the economy in Ukraine. And a comedian has over $1 billion. So there are a lot of other things to consider about, what happens next. If Zelensky and Putin sign a peace deal and come to a ceasefire agreement today, then, you can expect Russian forces to be pulling out, which will take a few days. But the big question now is Zelensky going to be able to control the Azov and the right sector, the neo-Nazis that were, independent armed forces and act independently and allegedly threatened him when he tried to allegedly reach a ceasefire regarding Donbass in the first place? It's because of that far-right element that this happened. Yeah, and that is why the peace agreement doesn't relinquish anything, including Crimea or Donbass, any part of Donbass, but some kind of agreement on those is going to have to occur. Those are not included in this agreement. But some kind of agreement will have to happen, so we don't know what's going to happen with any of that. Russia still has the date from March 31st that all oil and gas that they sell will have to be paid for in rubles. I don't expect Russia to lift that requirement. The only option is going to be for the West to end their requirement that is saying that, it has to be paid for in euros or whatever, or in dollars. There is absolutely no way that Russia is going to agree to sell oil in U.S. dollars. They may agree to the euro. Things to pay attention to right now is that immediately after this peace agreement was announced, that oil started dropping in price. So the oil companies aren't liking this very much. Wah. You know, what's this? The world's tiniest violin playing for you. So I don't expect it to decline in price significantly in the near future because it was already rising before any of this occurred. It's going to take a lot more than this to make oil come down anymore and to slow down, inflation. Russia still has the resolution in place to suspend grain exports until June, I think. I suspect that Russia may make some exceptions to that one for countries that are in, crisis right now. They may, but again, it remains to be seen. What is not going to change is the closer ties between Russia and China, the increased trade with India and Pakistan and other countries, which have resulted from all of this. These countries are not going to forget suddenly how the U.S. tried to bully them on their own trade agreements. In fact, the U.S. dollar has declined by 1% just in the last couple of days. And the dollar has already dropped significantly, and trade and other countries are moving away from the dollar and saying that they're diversifying. So, the U.S. Treasury bonds are, being sold off. New ones are not being bought by many countries. So the dollar is basically in free fall at this point. So, there was an initial effect of these sanctions on the ruble, but then it largely recovered from that. The Russian stock market, same thing. They suspended trading for a few days, but as soon as they opened up the market went, their Russian stock market went up, not down. So that backfired. All of this has backfired. It is absolutely backfiring. So, Victoria Nuland looks like an idiot, as she is. There's been no, chemical or biological attack, red flag biological attack. No, Russia is not overthrowing the government in Ukraine. It was Ukraine that overthrew their own government. It was Zelensky that overthrew his own government. It was Zelensky that did that. It was not Russia. So you cannot blame Russia for this. Are you going to try and claim that Zelensky is a Putin puppet now? Is that going to be? Oh yeah, I'm going to throw out 11 parties and then and make sure that I get thrown out of office and have to step down, all for the sake of Russia. No. Part of this agreement is that includes that Ukraine can join the European Union. Russia never had a problem with Ukraine joining the European Union. It was the former president, shit. I can't remember his name right now. All those names sound significantly alike to me. Look how many of these people are named Vladimir. Even Zelensky's first name is Vladimir, which is just a regional variation on the same name. Anyway, Yanukovych, that's it, Yanukovych. That was negotiating with the EU and decided not to join because Ukraine would lose more money than they made in that effort, which is what sparked the Euromaidan. But I'm seriously going to fall into hysterical laughter if whatever government is in place decides the exact same thing, that it costs Ukraine more than they make to join the EU, and then they decide not to. I will seriously laugh. Under this agreement, this is going to be a mutual agreement. It's not just that these countries will come in to support Ukraine in the event of military crisis. It also means that Ukraine, when they have a military again, which is going to take a while, it means that if one of these other countries, including the U.S., becomes militarily threatened, that Ukraine has to send their forces to fight for those countries, U.S., Canada, etc. All these countries, including Russia. If Russia is threatened, Ukraine will have to respond and send forces to help to defend Russia. All right? Do you get this? This is going to form a restructuring of military force across the world. So you've already got Russia, China, Iran, India, Pakistan that are forming closer alliances. And now all these other countries, in one way or another, this is going to unify more countries and prevent more wars. This is a good thing. So I expect defense, stock prices to start plummeting any minute now. As soon as the full realization hits, you can expect Boeing and Raytheon and so forth, Northrop Grumman, their stocks are going to plummet as soon as they realize that these are peaceful agreements between all of these countries. All right, so what happens next? It's anybody's guess. It all depends on future negotiations, but those are coming, and they will be happening very soon. All right, share this video. Talk about these subjects. If you can, please donate $1 a month to help expand the channel. I'll catch you in the next one.